Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing great. Hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic. And that you're all having a great day. Don't forget to follow me on social media. There are links in the description below. Without any further ado, let's jump right into it. We're getting, if you didn't see, there's like a weird new trend popping up, and I don't know where it's coming from, where these ideas are popping up from, or why this is such a like a strong idea in the minds of people in crypto right now. It has to do with A, the cryptocurrency moving back up in price, and B, why. That's kind of like the conjunction that we currently have. It has to do with once again, cryptocurrency prices should be a lot higher, but there's an enormous amount of uncertainty in the market. A lot of stuff, in all of world's markets right now, the tariffs are not helping. The reintroduction of tariffs in the next 2 months is not helping. The drying up of liquidity. I told you I saw, and I think it was Wall Street Journal, I don't remember, one of these YouTube video kinds of things. And they were talking about like consumers have slowed down their spending and how like this is bad for the economy. Well, the problem is that nobody wants to spend because no one knows what's going to happen. People are losing their jobs. Things are getting more expensive. Why in the world would anyone go, I'm going to buy a luxury bag right now? It just doesn't add up and doesn't make a lot of sense. So one of these solutions that a lot of people think is going to happen has to do with money printing. Namely because we've seen it before, and in essence, we know that it works. Part of the problem of that is that the devaluation of the US dollar is quite extreme right now. If you haven't gotten a chance to look at the Dixie, the DXY, or any other charts really, the US dollar for some reason is like, we know all the reasons. It's not like I'm going to sit here with a question mark over my head. Between all the debt, between all the money printing, especially after 2020. Yeah, the US dollar, and I know it sounds inconceivable, the US dollar doesn't really have that much longer. And this is kind of being echoed by every single economist. I would be remiss if I also didn't mention when Larry Fink said it. I think it's a very important thing to hear from the CEO of BlackRock announcing that the US dollar is not only disappearing and going to not be used as a world reserve currency, but that Bitcoin is going to take its place. So this leads us into the first thing of popular news that is being discussed right now. Really more so has to do with when is the cryptocurrency market going to properly recover and basically why. Popular economist, his name is Henrik Zuberg, believes Bitcoin and crypto will witness a huge burst to the upside due to central bank intervention. This might sound a bit familiar because it's what we went through 5 years ago. He told people on Twitter that he thinks the global economy is slowing down to the point that it's transitioning from growth into contraction. That usually spells out a recession. While the analyst believes that a recession is in sight, he says central banks will likely step in and prop up the economy with money printing to the benefit of Bitcoin and crypto. This is a common thought. It's just more of a, will it actually happen? And I say that from 2020 was an entirely different behemoth that we had to go through. For whatever reason right now, I understand. Jerome Powell is adamant that at the time of me making this video, he has no intention to lower interest rates. He doesn't care about the tariffs. He cares about nothing else. And it's namely because of inflation. A lot of times in crypto, I think people forget, I know they forget, what it's like not having assets. Remember I told you a couple of years ago, and I must have said it twice this year, he who holds the assets holds the money, has the future, has the wealth. In times of inflation, asset prices go up. That's just the way that things logically move. The problem is that prices also move up in the supermarket. And this is why you see very expensive eggs and lettuce and cars and all these other kinds of things, and the tariffs will not help at all. I'm shocked that people still don't understand that the country who issues the tariff actually has to pay the actual money. It's another form of taxation. So for some reason, every economist is under the assumption that if things continue to get bad, because let's be completely clear, they've been bad for the last 2 years with all the layoffs and no one hiring and the extra level of automation that's going on. If you missed in one of the other videos as well, talking about automation, there's a lot of economists who believe that within the next 10 to 15 years, we'll need a mandatory, what is it called? Universal basic income. And a lot of people have different feelings about it. I'm just telling you what's going on. It's namely because people won't have jobs. Everything can be automated. It's kind of like, anyway, without having to go too deep into that. So that's also going to be a very insane topic in the coming decades as well. But once again, the people who end up insulated are those with assets. It's kind of like, you see the price of everything going up. You see the prices of rent going up. Guess who doesn't have to worry about rent? The guy who owns the apartment, who owns the house, who's getting rent and who can actually raise the, it's that kind of, Guess who doesn't worry about rising supermarket prices? The guy who owns the supermarket. Guess who doesn't really care if certain objects get more expensive because he's holding stock for that company. So the company will make more money and so will he. So people think, and I don't know the exact time frame, but I'm getting a lot of summer, and I don't know why it's summer, but a lot of people think that by summer that basically Jerome Powell will have folded and said, okay, cool. That money that will begin to be printed, especially if we have a lower interest rate, will then move into the stock market to prop it up. And subsequently, what ends up happening is a lot of that money then moves into crypto, as we've seen before, because we tend to have much higher returns than than many other asset classes. So while stocks would move up by 20-30% over the course of the year, we can do that in a week. And therefore, this is where crypto ends up benefiting. He said, we are at an important inflection point in the business cycle. From my perspective, the economy is not crashing yet, but it is rolling over at this point. We should begin to see liquidity surge as the central banks will try to plug the holes of the economy. They will likely be short-term successful. Markets may rally strongly in the final phase. Crypto may explode higher. He then says, however, the Titanic has hit the iceberg and liquidity will only delay the inevitable. The recession later, as the labor market now begins to weaken over the coming months, end quote. It's something, once again, that a lot of people don't want to talk about. And I understand, scary things are scary, but we are in a really weird spot right now. And it's something that we're going to have to all actually talk about and discuss. Remember when I was saying before, and I'll say it again right now, I know that people want to have fun. I know that people want to buy cars and Lambos and go on expensive vacations and whatever people want to do with their money. Remember how I was saying before, I was like, if you do decide to take profit this cycle, the first thing you have to do is buy property. It's not a joke. You have to buy land that you can rent out to someone else. You have to buy a house, a home, a studio. I don't care what it is, but it has to be something that's like cash producing. Because the only people who are going to make out like bandits are those with assets. And also even more so, and I say that because people want to buy really frivolous, weird things all the time. And you can get this news every single day and it still doesn't hit you because you think it won't affect you until it does. Remember I was telling you my friend who told me that the job he was working at, if you missed that video, basically it's this company. They were told that they were going to downsize and they were going to try and figure out ways to do so. To the average person, we know what that means, but for some reason people in the company just kind of didn't catch the hint. And one of the people, there were multiple people, but this guy who had been at the job for 25 years, like one of the senior people, he was let go. So on Friday he went home. He knew nothing. He enjoyed his weekend. On Sunday night, he went to sleep. He woke up, went to work on Monday, and was told immediately, hey, you're fired, with no warning. So people keep thinking that things don't affect them until they actually do. There are a lot of people who don't save money. There are a lot of people who haven't made savings accounts. There are a lot of people who haven't been doing anything over the last few years. And then you lose your job, and then reality sets in, hey, I should have been preparing. I don't know why humans are this way, and I don't know why a lot of people are this way. But a lot of you right now, your heart's probably racing is because you need to do something. We have already been, our toes have been dipped in a recession since 2020. Nothing has changed. It was just that money was printed. And that money was thrown at the stock market in a bid to make it seem like things were normal. When things are normal or things are wink good, normal people go out and they buy more. This causes the stock prices and the valuations of these companies to go up, and it just continues the cycle. The problem is that debt is far too high. We can't get to the United States being $20 trillion in debt. We can't stay at the point where the average person has 5 or 6 different credit cards. It doesn't it literally cannot go on forever. It is completely impossible because eventually everyone completely crashes out. So this is where we are. However, as I stated before, I don't know what the timing is, but everyone is for somehow reason convinced that summer is going to be the point where all this liquidity injection begins to happen. The Economist has been calling for a blow-off top rally for Bitcoin and crypto, as many people have. There's not one person who says otherwise right now. We had that from Brad Garlinghouse talking about a $200,000 Bitcoin. Charles Hoskinson talking about $250,000 Bitcoin. What's his guy's name? Talking about $500,000. Everyone seems convinced that not only are we going to move back up in price right now, but we are going to hit several $100,000 and then recession enters or something along that way. Believing that the markets will witness a final leg up before the economy collapses. Last month, he said the U.S. was showing early signs of a contraction, leading him to believe that Fed Chair Jerome Powell will abruptly pivot and print dollars to stimulate the economy. Remember, we were talking about everyone who doesn't own assets. The problem is, and I have to keep saying this because it's a major problem, you'll become richer because you own crypto. You'll become richer because you own assets. You own Bitcoin. You own other coins. If price is 20, 15, 75x, you're going to get a lot richer. You think $14 for eggs is bad right now? Do you remember at the beginning of 2020 as we went on into the year and you were going to the supermarket and you kept on seeing prices rising? We're at the tipping point where actually, and no one wants to talk about it, it will result in hyperinflation of the US dollar. The only way to get out of the trillions of dollars in debt is to right now essentially print more money to pay off that debt. The more you print, even before the printing has begun, the hyper devaluation of the US dollar is currently taking place. If we hear that another $1 trillion is going to be printed, guess what gets devalued further? And that dollar literally doesn't go as far comparative to other fiat currencies. They have to then print more to make up the excess slack, and it creates a spiral, and we are at the beginning of that spiral. He also said that the stimulus will send the U.S. stock market, Bitcoin, and altcoins flying. Yeah, there's a lot of optimism right now. I'll even show you the next one that we're going to talk about as well. I said it in the last video, and I'll say it many more times. The cryptocurrency market has to move up, or we are kind of in trouble. I don't know who didn't need to hear that, but you need to be completely aware of what's currently happening. We should, yes, be far, 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 far higher in price. The altcoins should already be at their previous all-time highs. But unless Jerome Powell pivots, unless the U.S. stops printing money, unless they raise or stop issuing debt against themselves, then, iceberg. Yeah. Also, this doesn't, really tie into it at all, but it's very similar in energy. The amount of stable coins that continue to be created continues to grow. The idea, for those of you who don't know, for stable coins is basically that the more that there are, the more liquidity that there is in the cryptocurrency market. We usually historically have seen before mega rallies, really like 20-30% per week in price. Usually this is, hold on, sorry, my brain. What usually ends up happening is that we got a lot of stable coins being created. This usually comes from the idea that institutions, banks, and corporations are talking to the issuers of said stable coins, telling them, hey, we're looking to get into the market, but we need more liquidity before we start making big moves. There's a gigantic difference in there being $5 million worth of stable coins and $2 trillion, which is one of the current projections for how much stable coins there's going to be in the future. So yeah, this is from a report from a company called Matrixport, who says that this is actually very great for the cryptocurrency market, which it is. We're just basically waiting, and I say this in the nicest way humanly possible. We're waiting for a rally. We're waiting for something to click, to move, to finally happen so that we can all begin to move up, and optimism has to re-enter the market in some sort of way. But yeah, the amount of stable, and I don't have a lot of it here because it's like, okay, cool. There's a lot of stable coin news. There was like another patting themselves on the back kind of Coinbase thing where one of the largest growing stable coins right now is the Circle coin. And it's like, yeah, because you're partnered with BlackRock. Why? But like, are we supposed to sit there surprised and think that BlackRock, isn't going to help out the cryptocurrency exchange who is custodying their Bitcoin to make all of them a lot richer? But yeah, this should lead into something. It's usually a very good symbol. That's what we were talking about around November, in case you missed it. There was a huge amounts of tether being created every single day, and it usually indicates that prices are going to move a lot higher. So yeah, they kind of tie into each other. There's not as much stable coin price rising narrative as there is Fed lower interest rate, I almost said Fed prints money, market go up kind of thing. But you know what is very common everywhere? The recession. Everyone thinks it's going to happen. And at this point, if this is what things are like when we're not in a recession, yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. The next story also, it kind of ties into it, but it also ties into the time frame. I'm telling you, something really weird is happening. I don't know exactly completely what it is, but this is one of the weirdest. It is the weirdest cycle that I've ever been in, but it's also such an odd time to be in like money and finance. Like you feel that something's happening, right? And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but there's something in the air. Like it's actually like physically palpable. It's kind of incredibly odd. Also in the news today, they're showing a little sad face on Ether, but once again, this ties directly into the time frame that we've been given over the last couple of weeks. The SEC currently, for those of you who missed it, the SEC currently has 50 cryptocurrency ETF applications on their desk. Yes, 50. 16 or 17 for XRP, a couple of Bitcoin ones, a couple of new Ether ones, some Solana, and there's like a handful of meme coins, which also, sure, why not? The other part of what the SEC is currently actively doing is trying to approve staking on Ether ETFs, which is a major thing. Everyone keeps discussing it. That if this does end up happening, it's basically going to lead to a brand new revolution for Ethereum, for staking inside of ETFs, because you can't say, hey, that coin gets the stake and we don't. Yada, yada, yada. ETH goes up, altcoins go up, prices go up, you get it. Apparently, the SEC has pushed the decision on ETH staking and in-kind redemption to June. Does June sound familiar? It should, until June 2025. In-kind redemption is basically what every other country has, except for the United States. let's say you have 1,000 shares of an Ethereum ETF and you decide to sell it right now. You're in California or Texas, Mexico, or wherever you are. You try and sell it and you get back cash. In-kind redemptions basically means if you sell your Ether ETF shares, you get Ether back. Yes, it's a very powerful thing because it's also cutting out the US dollar from the entire equation. It's interesting to think about. You have ETH being staked through the ETF, so you're making passive income. If at some point you decide to sell, well, guess what? You will get the actual ETH back itself, and you can stake that yourself. They have pushed that back to June. Why is June significant? April, May, June. This is the time frame that we were told in mid-February and in March as to when the cryptocurrency market would move back up, that there would be significant news. We'd see a huge bunch of stuff happening within this market, and basically that would be the time frame when cryptocurrency prices would begin to skyrocket, essentially. I told you before, and I'll say it again, the timing of all this is very weird. If this isn't manipulation, then I mean, kudos to my almost said metal cap, tinfoil hat. There we go. Because I must be the one who's losing it. But as of right now, do you know when a lot of these ETF applications actually become due? So like we've already experienced the SEC saying, hey, we're going to push our decision back a little bit, like wait a couple more months. Do you know when these ETF applications for XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Dogecoin, Cardano, Avalanche, and HBAR are all due? April, May, and June. The timing is too specific. It's too all crunched together. So historically, at least recently, what the SEC tends to do is they kind of push the deadline a little bit further, but this deadline also just happens to be when Ether would or should or could be moving up further in price. I find it a little odd. The regulator has met with key players, including BlackRock. That's usually all you need to hear. Regarding the above issues, if BlackRock or Grayscale is anywhere in the discussion of having spoken to the SEC, it usually means that it's going to end up going through. But once again, June. The US SEC has delayed decisions on staking and in-kind redemption for Ethereum ETFs. The agency sought more time on the staking application on 2 Grayscale spot ETH ETFs. As a result, the deadline has been extended until the 1st of June. The issuer made the application in February. All the other ETF applications, and it's weird, no one's talking about this on Twitter. If you have a timeline or something like that to let people know it, because that is actually major news. All the other ETF applications were filed in November. If this was February and is being pushed to June, the ones filed at the end of November are due April and May. We should logically be hearing of an abundance of at least 15 to 20 different applications, either getting a yes or a no. That's going to swing the cryptocurrency market. If we hear at the end of this month or the middle of May, 6 XRP ETFs went through. The Cardano one, 2 Solana, 1 more Bitcoin, 1 more Ether. Prices are going to go up pretty heavily. We're already getting, wild and wacky price predictions for XRP if any of you happen to miss it. A lot of people are expecting, I'm saying this, this is whatever, by summertime, a $5.50 XRP. I don't know where they're getting $5.50 from. That's a very exact number, but $5.50. The other part is that by the end of the year, the expectations are still there for a $12 XRP. I think we'll hit those numbers very quick if we actually, this is it. And I don't know, maybe that's the feeling that I'm feeling in the air. It's such one of there's a huge amount of pressure in the air at all times. Huge amount of uncertainty. There's this euphoric dismay within the cryptocurrency space. If you read what people are saying online, comment sections on Twitter, everyone's like over it, but also like optimistic that things are going to get like a lot better. We keep having all these time frames. We keep having all these CEOs and people who created these coins and these projects. Everyone is talking about $250,000, $355 million extra. Like all these things are happening at the same exact time. That's why I said earlier this year in January, I said, if all this stuff doesn't happen, I'm going to be disillusioned. Because this is totally different. We're not just hearing this from, we always. In crypto, there's always 3 analysts who are like, no, prices are going to move up. We have 5 who are like, maybe they'll go sideways. And then we have a good 6 or 7 who do a really good job by just terrifying people, making people believe that crypto prices are only going to go down during the bull run. We have never had a situation where every analyst is like, yeah, we're going up to at least $250,000 per coin. But then I sit there sometimes and I'm like, the market has to move. Something has to give way. We hear that the United States is buying Bitcoin. The price goes down because people don't like the way that they're going to do it. We hear that other countries are mining Bitcoin. The price goes down because it's not the US announcing that they're mining Bitcoin, which then also happened and people also didn't care about. For those of you who didn't see it, I think Trump or whatever thing associated with him, they're also making their own stablecoin and they're also getting into cryptocurrency mining as well. We can hear that central banks are mining Bitcoin. Central banks are buying Bitcoin and nothing. There's no, like, you know how like those machines in the hospital, beep, 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 like that, like we're just beep, 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 beep. Like there's no energy in the space. Like people just aren't excited no matter what the news is. And it's even crazier because years ago, we used to get such good news years ago. And I mean, it was nothing compared to this. The news that we got years ago was that an ETF application went to the second phase. It's not a joke. That was like all that we got. And now we get this amazing news and no one seems to care. It has like, there's no feeling in like, it's just so odd. It's so odd. So yeah, basically right now, and I say this in the nicest way, within the next couple of weeks, we should be getting some kind of answer as to what's going to happen to the other ETF applications that were also filed. But I'm afraid. I'm afraid of hearing that everything went through and then the prices go down because they're not accumulating as much crypto as people think that they should. It's such a weird, it's so yeah. So yeah, it's been pushed to June. I'll say it this way. Grayscale and BlackRock are both in discussions with the US SEC. It's probably going to go through. I told you all before, and I'll say it again. I know it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. I'm not here to hold your hand, and I don't know who needs to rehear that. I'm not here to be a hype channel. I'm not here to make you feel good and all fancy, whatever the case might be. I'm here to bring you the actual news. And I told you before, if by the time we get to like July, if we're still trending sideways, it's a red flag. Because this has never happened before. We've never had a cycle like this where the news is 30 times better than news that we've ever had and prices don't move. It just is not a thing. Even if we had gotten tariff news, Bitcoin would have fallen from 189,000 to 169 and then moved right back on up. So, yeah. Once again, April, May, and June. I know it sounds like a broken record. It's because it is. It's because it's the only thing that we keep getting over and over and over. April, May, and June, and the Fed printing more money. That seems to be the news and catalyst that we're getting right now as to when, why, how crypto will reach new all-time highs, because the altcoins, once again, should already right now be above their previous all-time highs. Well, hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all managing to do stuff and save money and prepare for the future because, yeah. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.